What's going on, everybody? My name is Mr. Leong, and welcome back to another episode of the Startup Starter Kit. Thanks for tuning in. And these episodes are really designed to help you to start, grow, and manage your own small business. Now, we're kind of doing videos on human resources and managing your team, payroll, hiring, job descriptions, etc. And now we're going to learn about effective team building. Now, this is one of my favorite topics. I am a big fan of sports and collaboration, teamwork. And when I look at the effective organizations around the world, they really spend a lot of time on team building, on really fostering that collaborative culture. And there's actually a few stages of development that needs to happen for a group to become a team. A group of people is not necessarily a team until they've gone through the necessary steps. And there's actually a model that will explain how to form, storm, norm, perform, and adjourn. If you don't know what those terms mean, I'm going to explain it to you in this video where I teach you how to effectively build teams in your organization. Let's get started. All right, if you haven't done so already, I'd appreciate it if you consider subscribing to the channel. Give me a shot, and I think you'll be interested in learning something new about business basics, fundamentals, or even just learning about how to grow your own business. Now, team building. The whole purpose of team building is to foster cooperation, collaboration, and to motivate individuals of a group to work together. And the real definition of team building is the process of creating a cohesive team designed to perform, meet goals, and to develop strong bonds. Maybe during orientation in your new job, you have some activities or mini exercises where you kind of do some professional development, team bonding. But the whole idea is that in any business or organization, you're expected to work with a bunch of other people, whether it's in your department or your cohort or your team that you've created for a specific task, or even a committee. So team building is designed to really encourage people to work together, work out some of the differences, and to create a organization or unit that works well together. One of the really cool things I like about team building is that teams kind of balance out weaknesses. Maybe an individual is strong in creative design, one's more analytically strong. And when you combine these two individuals or a team together, they focus on their strengths and it kind of evens out those weaknesses. As we see in this picture right above here with the Avengers, you have Iron Man, who's really good at sort of the technology side, really good at flying around. Hulk's really strong strength. Captain America is good at direction, vision, and kind of leading the team. Thor is bringing the electricity, the power, and the thunder. And then you have those two assassins, Black Widow and Hawkeye. So all of them work together and they each have their own unique strengths that they provide to the team. And when you combine all these efforts together, 2 plus 2 is equal to 5, and that the sum of their efforts is greater than if they were to all work individually without working as a team. Now, the benefits of teamwork are quite substantial in that you can reduce absenteeism, there's lower turnover, a greater job satisfaction, and achievement of goals. Teams provide a base for accountability, in that when you have a team of individuals, they keep each other on track with their goals, they overcome individual differences, and they provide opportunities to peer review and support each other. Maybe you've been a part of a team when you've done a group project in school. Could have been a positive or a negative experience, but the idea here is that everybody should be working together to overcome those weaknesses and create a product that is substantially better than if everybody were to work individually. So effective teams are key to great organizations and businesses. But how do you create a team? Is it just putting a bunch of people into one room, or is it something a little bit more complex? Let's take a look at Tuckman's model for creating effective teams. Okay, let's begin with Tuckman's model of the 5 stages to group or team development. Now, notice over time that the effectiveness of the team is going to kind of ebb and flow like a wave. No team is expected to be at its peak performance because, as you know, when you put a bunch of individuals together who have never met for the first time, there needs to be time to develop team chemistry and to really create those identities and the roles. Who's doing what in a team or a group or organization? So, as you can see here, most individuals, when a team forms for the first time, kind of work individually, and then there's this storming phase where, as individuals start to get to know each other, there may be some conflict. Individual personalities arise, and the model suggests that in order for teams to get to its full peak performance, there needs to be some period where you kind of work out those weaknesses or you work out those conflicts. We form, we storm, we norm, kind of get back to speed, and then we perform at our highest peak, and then we officially adjourn. It's kind of like this little map over here with a bunch of the clouds. So we form, we storm, we norm, the sun starts to come out, we perform at its highest peak, and then the sun sets, and the team ends, and maybe individuals leave, or maybe it's kind of like a group project. Maybe you've had a group project in high school or university, and as you get to know each other, the performance level is going to go up, but there is a period where you try to work out those individual personalities and differences. And before I go to the next slide, one very important point to note is that effective teams take time to build. You can't just really put a whole bunch of individuals together with no prior team chemistry or history and expect them to perform at the highest peak. They need some time to really work out the chemistry, communication, so teams take time to build. So no team is expected, for example, like a hockey team, to have a whole bunch of individuals who have never played with each other to be at full performance. And it kind of is kind of common sense, but let's go into a little bit of details into each of the stages. The first stage is called the forming stage. Individuals are kind of unsure of a team's purpose, but they kind of show up for the first time. They may be anxious, curious, but mostly polite, like an orientation day at a university. Most individuals in the group are kind of eager, they're motivated, they want to do a good job, and they're just trying to meet each other for the first time. So this is what we call forming. And maybe you've seen in a bunch of superhero team up movies or shows, or some other kind of sports themed TV shows where you kind of meet each other for the first time, but you don't really know about the other individuals. So they're kind of polite, but again, not at the full performance. Storming is where there's clashes in personality and friction. This is the most confrontational part of team building because teams are going to get bogged down in differences. Some of the behaviors are kind of less polite. Members are frustrated about the goals, expectations, or even concerns of progress. Have you ever been in a group project and maybe you feel that one or two people aren't really putting in the work that's required of them? This is the storming phase. And there's going to be some arguing because there's personalities that are emerging and there's goals not being met and expectations. So in this case, with these expectations, you require a few individuals to conduct a few tasks or duties and they don't follow through. So storming is the phase where there's a bunch of clashes in personality and friction. Probably the ugliest part of a team development phase, but when kind of like a wave, when you get to the bottom of a team, you can only really go up. And this is important to work out any differences. Some teams actually go through the storming phase and then they kind of, end there. Not all teams go through the whole sort of wave and cycle. As you see here, in some teams, it's kind of like, hey, we don't want to play with each other and we're just going to stop. Or maybe the storming phase is actually really short. Maybe there's a brief sort of dispute, but it sort of gets worked out right away. So in this case, storming can be really, really short or very long, but it really depends on the team. And then we get to norming. Team members begin to resolve discrepancies, their conflict resolution, and the team is much more flexible. Constructive criticism is welcomed, and this is the point where it's like, hey, if somebody's criticizing you, you're not going to take it personally. It's part of the feedback, and why don't we apply this? Workers are making more of a conscious effort to build group harmony, and not all teams get to the storming stage. But those that do come out with a renewed sense of cohesion and unity. So in those superhero movies, this is where they talk it out. They try to work out those differences, and they try to ensure that there's a way for them to work together. This is the part where there's conscious efforts to really put the team first instead of the individual. The performing stage is probably the highlight of the team development stage, the most productive, full cooperation, consensus, and the team is fully developed. This is where you're really at the peak. There's a sense of communication, structure, and while there's conflicts and problems, they are very sort of efficiently dealt with. Team goals are clear. They're met with excellent problem-solving skills, highest productivity, and everybody has a sense and they know what to do and what's expected of them. So you can really trust on each other to conduct some of the duties. And this is like my summer camp experience. The orientation process is where you get to know everybody. And once those anxieties and once those conflicts are worked out, we're working to our fullest ability. And this is where everybody knows what to do and we're in sync. It's fully harmonized, and this is where there's the most productivity. And this is the performing stage, and it leads into the last stage, which is called adjourning. The day of adjourning or reflection is inevitable because groups are not designed to last forever. Maybe some people leave, maybe this was a short-term group or committee, and they may come to a close because people tend to move around in your business. They might move to different departments or jobs, or maybe they're only here for a short time. It can be bittersweet. It's usually a nice reunion or a farewell party, but this is inevitable because maybe you only hire some individuals for the short term. As I know from my summer camp experience, it was only about 5 weeks. You hire them, you hire your employees, your summer camp activity leaders. They stay, they work well, and then as the summer ends, there needs to be a time for reflection and to really go over with your employees what went well, what didn't go so well, and how you can improve. And finally, the team has adjourned and there's no need for any further team development. So hopefully that made sense with the Tuckman's model of team building. And here are some examples of some team building activities you can use in your own business to foster a collaborative culture. Really focus on trying to get individuals to storm so that you can norm very quickly. You want to get everybody to know each other and you want to create a sense of unity, whether that's a lunch, picnic together, retreats and outings, or bowling, arcade, puzzles, scavenger hunts, icebreaker games, or maybe it's something even more company focused. Maybe it's a brainstorm in trying to improve the company's marketing strategies or plans. So here's a list of activities you can apply in your own business or organization to foster team building activities and to really jumpstart the team development process. Did that make sense? This was a video on really teaching you the importance of allowing teams and individuals to form, storm, norm, perform, and adjourn, which is a natural process in creating teams and ensuring that teams are working to the highest of their abilities. All right, if there are any questions, leave them down in the comments below, and I appreciate your support in staying to the end and watching the video. If you have any questions, let me know. And that was it in this latest episode of the Startup Starter Kit. And I probably plan to do one more video on kind of maybe just wrapping up human resource management, and then I'll move on to my next section of videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later, and bye-bye.